according to my watch.
3:59.
I got 3:59.
But you 4 minutes also?
No, 3:59.
Okay, then we'll wait. Got to give everybody ample opportunities.
3:59?
My code.
Do what?
All right.
Why is that? My code.
Yeah.
Kind of worries you, don't it?
Oh, I got 4.
I do it all the time. I have to go to companies and stuff to take all the cards out.
All right, we're ready to go. Well, we have a few folks here today. Thanks for coming. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any changes or additions to the agenda? And if you know there was an original agenda, then I added an additional item, which is item 6, to the agenda for tonight's meeting, which I think you all got copies of. If so, I'll take a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Means nobody's opposed because there's only 3 of us here. Approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Those who should have been sent out.
I had just 2 points of clarification. On page 2, paragraph 4, line 3, I would like to amend, instead of the commissioners, we say members of the commission. And on line 5, we change that from commissioners to commission.
Okay. We'll make those adjustments.
What was the second one?
It's-
On line 5 of that same paragraph, paragraph 4, we amend commissioners to commission.
I think that'd be more, that'd clarify us a little bit more.
Yeah.
Any other changes or corrections to the minutes? If not, we need a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
So
I'll make that
moved.
motion.
Oh,
David's made that motion.
I'll
Carol seconded that motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, which is, we're good. The TIF balances that we received. Courthouse TIF right now is at $255,704.24. The Wapaka TIF is at $771,961.22. The Webb Wheel TIF is at $254,237.92. The Riverview number 5 is at $3,434.13. And we currently have in our, it's classified as our PCRDC fund, which was the funds from the sale of the property. After Cash Wagner was paid, we have $19,434.75. Is that correct, Pam?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you sent me. Our next item, Ron, as I see, is here. Mr. Smith, would you like to call you forward and discuss where we stand on the apartment complex? Well, complex isn't the right word. The apartments.
Well, I got a couple things for you. Here is plot plan, though this is pretty much as, I'll give you that drawing there too in a minute. The layout on the existing property.
Thank you. Sorry.
As you can see,
Could I get a copy of this?
this, I got an extra anyway.
Thank you.
So basically, that's the 36 units that I talked about.
And they're all 2-bedroom, correct?
Correct. Now, I'm actually going to go, now this plan here, I have signed a contract with Universal, and they're just, I should have them by the end of the week. If I do, I'll email you a copy of those plans. This is basically the same thing that you guys can look at right now.
Okay.
Except this is a 12-unit complex. We're just going to add half again.
Okay.
So it's exactly the same thing. And these are the units as, you know, there's, so I mean, basically they're all 2-bedroom,
Okay.
1 bath, and they're all going to be 2-story, all of them, all of now that plan right there actually shows the third floor as one bedrooms. We're just gonna make all of them the same. They're gonna stack all three of them, just all be the same, all the way to the top.
So have you all made a decision on the facade also?
Yes, there will and it will, yes, basically all brick on the lower level. And if you notice, this here will have a vinyl fence down this side here so we can keep all that parking for those existing businesses over here.
Right.
Okay? Because this is the railroad tracks here. So we're going to come in here. We'll have it where we can we'll have to have one drive here so we can put dumpsters back here so we can get a truck back in and out right there.
Right.
So this was the best layout for us to get we actually ended up with a few more parking spots, more than the 1.5 per unit. So, I mean, it actually, and by the way, I made these all 1'6" wider than this here, because this one bedroom, because you guys probably wouldn't have noticed, but it's pretty damn small, so we're making this unit and then 1'6" wider.
Okay.
So they'll all be, all the lower units will actually almost qualify for ADA, but there will be the minimum requirements. I think there's 2, one in each building.
Right.
But the lower units I'm going to put ADA doors, sills in all of them, so that they would actually qualify. Only thing it's not going to qualify is like the dishwasher in the units that are not, and that handrail and those cabinets, because those things are just astronomical to buy.
Okay.
But the other units would be that.
But they can be converted
Well,
if worse came to worse.
But the thing about it is, most people can still get by. I mean, if they were in the wheelchair, they'd still work. You can get in and out of them.
Right.
It's just that one thing, the dishwasher's not gonna, there is a outside of the building. Be very similar to that right there.
So vinyl on second and third levels, correct?
Correct. But I want to put masonry on all lower level because, just rocks, boards, balls, bats, water, everything on all the lower part. We do have, and I've shared it with Alvin, but I do have a letter of commitment from the German American Bank for the money.
Okay.
And I should have a set of preliminary plans for the appraiser by Friday. If I do, I'll email them.
Then you have my email address.
Yeah, and
I'm assuming it went through.
Yes.
Okay.
But I will send you the email for that. Those plans, so it'll have the elevations and stuff. But I have to have those done to get the final done with the bank.
Okay.
Our plans is still to start the first quarter,
Okay.
the good Lord willing. But we did, like I said.
And then you're definitely going to hit the deadline of November for the last payment, correct?
Oh yeah, I was going to play. Because I had down the 15th, and you guys kind of got, I couldn't get some of the money out of as fast as, that I wanted to. But yeah, we'll have that. We'll pay for it all.
Okay.
Now, I have talked to Alvin too about if we get to the point we need to start thinking about the abatement or TIF, or how we're going to do part of that, because according to Alvin, we can't actually transfer the property to our name until that abatement's been applied for.
And this will keep keep us on the loop on that also.
Okay.
Because it is really more redevelopment than it
Right.
is PCDC at this point.
But I don't know what that's. Yeah, but that's.
Yeah. So
Well,
we need to stay in the loop. Is my
Well, I'm
point.
going to do more than that now, but we're finally over the hump here, and I have 2 partners, Al Hoegger and Jeff Burris, and like I said, I do have a letter of commitment from German American Bank. So to
Just
lower
our copy, or
you can have that if
okay.
you want,
I'll just keep it in the records.
but it's for 80% of their appraised value.
Okay.
So as soon as we have the preliminaries, they can do their appraisal. At that point, the rest of it will go fairly quick.
Okay.
And it's just like the engineering part, they're just running that far behind.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Are you talking about applying to the city for a tax abatement?
Sure.
I would. I
Well,
did.
I'm going to.
I did. And you can't, from my understanding on that, Ron, is you cannot start anything until that abatement's been approved.
Well, we can't transfer any of the deeds or whatever, I mean.
Correct.
As
And
far as
nor can you start building until that's all approved.
Oh, yeah.
You can't, as they told me, you can't do anything until it's approved.
Yes, correct.
Well, once we know that, I can't really do anything until I have that preliminary set of plans in my hands. Because they're
Correct.
not gonna change enough, because we already know, that's already been approved by the state. It meets all the other criteria, so once we got that, they can be finishing the plans while I'm
That's correct.
it'd be enough for for us to apply for the abatement and do all that stuff, but I gotta have those in my hands to do that. I really thought, because I signed a contract probably 3-4 weeks ago, and I thought I'd have them by now, but he promised me I should have them by Friday or no later than next Wednesday.
Okay.
And once we get those, then we can actually go to the next step and go ahead and apply for the abatement and those things, so, everything else seems to work out pretty good. The layout actually worked out better after we had Calvin actually did that layout a lot better, so we're gonna have more room and make things work. And still be able to save all the parking for the existing businesses in that other building.
Right. Have you started looking at what the price points are gonna be for the complexes, or is it too early for that?
Well, we're gonna be somewhere around 3.2 million probably.
But what about the
Oh,
units?
the rent?
Yeah, the
The
rent for the
market
units.
rate or?
Market rate, I'm just checking with what, we're thinking around the 8s.
Okay.
So that's our goal, somewhere in that neighborhood. I mean, basically, it looks like to me it's gonna be between 8, because the bottom units are gonna be the most expensive, then we're gonna go down as you go up,
Okay.
because you got stairs to deal with. Of course, they'll meet all the state requirements, they'll be sprinkled, they'll have,
The concrete or asphalt on the parking?
concrete.
Concrete, okay.
I'm gonna do concrete on all of it.
That's-
I mean, with the plant sitting right there, I can't,
I
still-
agree. I agree.
I can't afford not to.
Plus, I think
just-
it looks nicer.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, and it just holds up a lot better in the long haul.
Okay. Anything else, gals?
Not at this point, I think just keeping us in the loop with, we'd like to take a look at those plans when they.
I will email them to you as soon as I get them.
Okay.
And like I said, I should have them no later than, he said Friday, but I'll see what I.
And I'm
what-
assuming if we have questions, we can
Oh,
ask
yeah.
and you'll respond back.
Right, and then, like I said, Brett's doing the plans, since he had actually done those. Those plans were originally for a friend of mine's. And that's what, so we didn't have to reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
So,
All right.
okay.
We appreciate it.
I
And
would like to keep those right there, though, but
When
you will.
when you're ready to pay, does he just get a hold of you, Chris, or just drop it off to Pam?
He can just drop it off to Pam,
So,
or me, or mail it to me, or.
you can even bring it by to me and I'll get it
whatever
to
you wanna
them.
do.
I've got a couple of projects going in Tell City. I got a house going over on 24th Street, so I'm up here all the time. I'll just bring the check up here, so.
Okay, so one of the three, and just
Right.
let us, they'll let each other know when it gets here, so we know, we don't have to worry about it.
Cool.
All right. Number 5, thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
So at the last meeting, we discussed trying to lay out, at least get a visual layout of the property that we're looking at, that the hospital currently owns, the 17 acres. I did talk to Kenny Simpson, and Kenny said that he would lay us out, do a layout for us. And I asked him to give us an idea of what that would cost, and of course, as Kenny does, it'd be less than $5,000. We know that. My guess is it's going to be a couple $1,000s. And then at least we're going to know how many possible units we're looking at, how many lots we're looking at, and then we can start working through the elevation grades, and then we're going to progress from there. And I think we're going to try to progress very, very quickly from there. Unfortunately, we did invite all of the contractors that we know in town, and obviously they've chosen not to be here. I don't know what to say about that. A little disappointed, I will say. But I'm actually going to be meeting with someone else from out of town to see if they've got any interest. And my thought is we're going to have to progress. We can't sit and wait, and we cannot keep sitting and waiting. I would like to do everything as much as we can locally, but we also need to have some buy-in from our local folks also. I'm sorry to put it that way, but I think that's where we've got to go today. So what I will need is we can get the funds from one of our districts if we need to, according to what we learned last month. So I would open a motion to look at less than $5,000 for some preliminary layouts on the Perry County Memorial Hospital property.
Before we go there, can I just ask, the
Ask anything you want.
preliminaries that he's going to do, are we looking at, have we given him guidelines on the types of
Yes, it'd be single family.
single family, like lot sizes? Have we
That's
spelled all
what
that
that's what
out?
we're trying to figure out.
Okay.
Because what I want to know is how it lays in terms of what the lot sizes are going to look like.
Okay.
But it's a good. I don't
So we
think.
might have an assorted, we're not.
I think
they're
so.
not gonna be cookie cutter.
Correct.
This-
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Is this the,
17 acres.
no, heck, that's-
17 acres. Yeah, 237 to 17 acres.
Is that on the northeast side?
Northeast corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, it looks like there's a big pile that sits in the middle of it. That's it. I'm also been checking with utilities because I need to also want to find out what the availability on the utilities will be and how available they are. Because I know with the sewer, there could be a couple of options there, either gravity or the pump system. And I need to get that kind of ironed out for our commission. Electric is going to be pretty simple. Of course, that'd be REC. Gas is, I think, is going to be relatively simple, but I'll check with Ohio Valley Gas to kind of see where they are. So as we lay out the lots, we can start laying out how our utilities are going to get into the property. And then we can also, have a pretty good idea of how many lots we can put in there, which I think is the biggest key, is what we've got to look at. Because once we know that, then we're going to know kind of what kind of dollars we're looking at, and hopefully we can start figuring out what our lot prices are going to be. And the hospital is still more than willing to work with us on that, so I'm guessing at this point, the conversation has been, as they sell, the hospital gets their payment. So, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're wanting to do, because if you're doing an additional, I gotta take it to the council, okay? So you're looking at 5,000?
Up
But
to
then-
5,000.
Okay. What TIF district, because I have to advertise it, so what TIF district are we taking it from, so I know?
Take it from the courthouse.
The courthouse one? And I am gonna let you know that this probably will not hit until December.
That's,
Or I'll have to have
that's fine.
may have to have a special meeting, I'm not sure, because we may have some additionals from the county, because November, they're meeting
If we can have it by the first of the year,
Oh, yes.
because if we know we're going to go this route, I think Kenny will probably kind of start working on it for us anyway, so hopefully it'll
Generally,
move
if
very
all else
quickly.
fails, they have their first meeting about the second, third, whatever that first day is, because of reconvening and stuff.
Right.
And sometimes we have additionals of that one that I advertise in December.
Okay.
Because I only have so many days in December to get one in too, so I'll have to see how their schedule goes. But one way or the other, it'll be in December or right at the beginning of January.
Okay, see, I would really like to
Okay.
get most of this thing really kicked off in early 2022.
Okay, I will make sure it's in late December, or sometime in December.
And we'll
or first of
probably
January.
try to have a redevelopment commission yet in December.
Okay.
Because if we have to discuss what's going to happen downtown with TIFs and all that kind of stuff, we're going to have to probably meet in December anyway, so.
Okay, I'll have to see how theirs, because I only have so many days to the state to
Right.
get it in, so I will double check to see what I can do.
Okay, we haven't voted on it yet, though.
Oh, well, I just kind of want to get my P's in order.
But if we do it and then it passes, yes.
Here you go, okay, well, I already got my information.
But that's kind of, I think, the thoughts, what I'm afraid of is if we don't start doing something, as soon as it's going to die on the vine.
I completely agree. I think this is something, there have been various initiatives over the years that have died on the vine, for lack of a better term.
Mhm.
And this is going to take some commitment to move forward. So I'm in 100% agreement.
So we can get there and we can continually reach out to our local folks, and hopefully we can get somebody that wants to commit, or at least have a conversation about. And then we can, if not, we're just going to have to keep learning the process and go from there. I don't know what else to say. So I guess we'll need to make that motion to appropriate up to $5,000 for preliminary layouts of the Perry County Memorial Hospital property.
So moved.
You got a motion?
Second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, I'll signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, Pam, now you can.
You can do that.
One more thing, John, I know we talked about, I did formally ask the ARP committee for up to $250,000 of ARP funds for infrastructure on that property.
Okay.
So it's been requested.
Okay. That's good.
That is a long-term payback, I believe,
I agree.
in tax dollars.
I agree. And I think really, if you look at that money, personally, that's a good way to enhance what we have. Because again, we've talked about this, if we've got to grow, and if we don't grow, we can't function. I mean, we don't really have a choice at this point in the game, and it does affect our school, it affects our hospital, it affects everything.
Well, our hope is by using ARP funds, it drives the cost of the lots down.
Correct.
It makes the homes more affordable.
That's correct.
The builder to purchase and the homeowner to ultimately purchase.
And I think from the psychological side, it also shows that there's a commitment. We're committed to make it happen. The community's committed to make it happen. And here's the biggest concern, and I'm not in the building world, biggest concern, they say you build it, they'll come. We just hope that happens. And I think we have enough folks looking that that'll happen.
I don't think that'll be the issue, it's just getting it done. That's gonna be the issue.
Well, it's gonna get done.
You guys are the most aggressive anybody around here right now that I know of.
So it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Didn't Jason mention not long ago that there's somebody up north that's doing this exact same project
Yes.
like that?
Yeah. And I think they're kind of they're a little bit ahead of us, but they're in the early stages of it also. Might be up somewhere around India, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So, all right. I will let Mr. Simpson know. The last item we put onto the agenda, and Jason brought this up at our meeting last time, and it was talking about the web wheel TIF. We currently owe $300,000 on that last bond payments. There's about $4,605 worth of interest that will be due starting February 2nd is the next payment on that bond. So I kind of looked through some preliminary numbers, and with one small assumption, and I think this number is going to be close, but currently we have about $254,237 in the web wheel account. There's still some outstanding costs that is appropriated to the school. So when I talked to Mr. Shoto, he said that's going to be somewhere around $100,000, plus or minus a little bit, but about $100,000. So that would get us a balance of about $154,237. And this is the answer. I don't know this, but Pam is let me know that we should expect somewhere around $267,000.
It's just a very rough guess.
Yeah, but somewhere around, plus or minus some. And
We've
when
got
does
133 back on spring settlement.
Okay, so when does that last one? When does that come in?
Well, taxes are due next
Wednesday.
Wednesday, and we have to settle within 51 days.
Okay.
So by the end of the year, we have to be settled.
So we'll have another about 133 by the end of the year.
Sometime in December. I
Okay.
would, at this point, let's rupture toward the end of December.
So with that, that's going to probably put us into the second cycle after the May payments come in to pay off the bond. Because we're only supposed to get 133 in this next payment, correct?
Roughly, yeah.
So that's going to get us 287,000 roughly, which would keep us short of the payment for February.
And about March, I'll probably kind of have an idea of what we'll be expecting.
And
for the
that
spring
normally that
next
payment
year.
would come then in
May, June, it'd be June.
May, June. Okay, June.
It would be June.
So we'll assume everything is equal. We would assume could assume plus 133,000 plus or minus.
At least guaranteed on, hopefully the
Yeah.
133. maybe
So then that would
some
get
more
us over the
development.
hump in order to pay those bonds into the second half of 2022.
And your next payment's not due till August 1, right?
Yeah, so we could say, okay, we can look at August. We could actually pay them before that, and we just have to accrue the interest out. So probably, more than likely, the cleanest way would be looking at August of 2022. I did have a conversation with the school, and basically, you know, we've been doing 120-ish thousand to the school out of that TIF district. And his comment, and Tony has had the same conversation, I think, with Mr. Shoto, is if this is good for the community, they're okay with us progressing and trying to get this thing paid down so we can save a little bit of money. And I think it's going to open up a lot of more doors for us going into the future on that district. If we can get rid of the bonds, personally, I would like to get rid of the bonds, but it looks like we'll probably be summer to August to pay off the bonds. I don't really think, unless we think we need to do action on that, we could discuss
think
that
we
more,
need
but
to.
there's really not much I don't think we can really do.
I
But
think really
everybody
until we get
seems,
those
from the
numbers.
school to, seems to be in agreement at this point. The challenge of this commission is it's going to potentially reset in January. You know, I hope that we have the same group because it seems to be working. That's not my call. Heck, they may oust me, it's hard to say. So, anyway, so that's kind of where we're going to be. So we'll look at this we'll put this back on the agenda for the spring, summer of 2022. But that seems to be the intent, if that's what you all are thinking too, David.
I agree.
Well, at least we can
Let's
have
save that interest money.
Well, save some interest money, and there's no reason to keep paying the bonds when we don't have to.
Totally agree.
So, is there anything that I missed?
No, you got it all.
With kind of the same conversation of housing, there was some thoughts that I had, and I sent it to the commission for us all to think about, but I think it's also the community would be good for them to think about. And there was just some thoughts on where we stand as a community right now. So here was the kind of the questions that I proposed to our group to think through. And number one was, what are the 2 areas within the community we must improve to attract productive people in order to grow in a productive manner? And there's some key words in that sentence, and productive is the words. Okay? So if you all want to think through some of this too, I think it's important, but that's kind of where it's been kind of driving our conversation. And of course, we're discussing what our role in this is as a Redevelopment Commission. The last 2, basically, the one question I have is, what is our greatest risk? And I think that's a short-term and a long-term risk, and I think part of our risk right now, I'll throw this one out, is if we do not grow, we become irrelevant. We have to grow. And I'm hoping the commissioners are watching this or listening to this, because they are the biggest chunk of this. Tell City is now sitting through the process of redoing their plan, their long-term plan. I know the commissioners have one. We brought it up in our meetings, and I'm hoping they're bringing it up in their meetings, because we've got to constantly work for the same objective. And I guess here's kind of more philosophical. What's held us back? What's held the community back from maximizing our potential? Because we've never hit our potential. So I think we have to keep thinking, how can we keep maximizing our potential? And I think these conversations are part of that. I think Mr. Smith coming in with the apartment complex is part of that. Us planning housing is part of that. You know, letterings have gone on and they've created more lots. Casebols have created more and planning on creating more. Fort Windows have created more housing, but we're going to have to start supersizing this a little bit. Otherwise, our plants will not be able to get their people that they need to function. And if they can't function, they're going to have to figure something out. So.
Yeah, I was in a meeting there last week. Wow, it's staggering how many people they need. And I was like, wow, it's staggering.
Yes, sir.
Could you repeat your first question so I get it right for the minutes?
What are I'll give you a copy, Chris. What are the 2 areas within the community we must improve to attract productive people in order to grow in a productive manner? People don't like my English all the time, but I think it makes sense.
I just heard productive twice, I didn't know where it fit in.
When do you want answers?
Anytime. Anytime. Because this is a long process. This is a long-term process. It's not, we're not solve this stuff in 6 months or 2 months or 3 months. This is years. This will be solved in years. You know, and we have to kind of keep this juggling act going in terms of where do we effectively spend our dollars. And that's the challenge right now with the COVID money, is where do we spend this money to get the most impact long-term and not just blow it. The easiest thing is to blow the money. That's easy. But what can we do in order to enhance more money into the future? Taxes, businesses, tax revenue, that kind of thing. So I think that's kind of where we've, as a group, if fair enough, that we've kind of come to. So that's all I really got. I can preach all day, so I'll quit. So with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. This is about as short as we've been in a while.
So moved.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith. And I think you've got my email address.
Yes.
So
I'm not real good with emails.
I've got